Hey everybody, this is Jen. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my journey. So today it is cold, it is dreary, it's raining outside, it's really icy, it's just plain out nasty. But inside it's nice and warm. And since it's a rainy, crappy day, what better way to make it just a little bit brighter than with some hearty soup. Today we are going to be cooking a chicken and gnocchi soup. It is a Copycat from the Olive Garden variety, and this meal can actually be made quite easy with vegan and vegetarian options, and I will show that as we go. So if you're interested, follow me along right here on Garden Jen's Journey. My name is Jen. In 2016, we moved to a small rental property in central Michigan. Here, I started my journey of organic gardening, making natural remedies, cooking from scratch, and so much more. Welcome to my homestead, and welcome to my journey. Alright, so for this recipe, it's pretty simple. My husband cut up the vegetables for me ahead of time. It saves me energy. This is a double batch. I will put this description of the recipe in the description box below so you can follow it along that way. But we have onions, carrots, and celery, a cup each. There's about 2 cups each in here because I am doing a double batch. But yeah, so a cup each of carrots, celery, and onions. That's going to start our base for our soup. And then we have Better Than Bullion. This is the vegetarian broth, and we're going to use that. We're going to use some regular Italian seasoning. We're going to use some salt. And then we're going to use this Silk heavy whipping cream. If you're not vegetarian, you can use the regular whipping cream, but since we're cooking vegetarian most of the time, this is what I got. My son wanted this soup especially, and he's not a vegetarian, so we do have actual chicken here, some chicken breasts that we baked and cut up, so we'll put that in at the end of the recipe because it's already cooked. But if you're vegetarian, this brand, Corn, has a meatless diced chicken pieces, and they work excellent to replace the actual chicken in your recipe. They are not vegan because they contain egg in them, but they are a great vegetarian substitute for the real stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my saute, or in my stock pot, and get this going, and I will take you over there so you can see the process. Alright, so I have my stock pot heating on medium-high. While that's heating, I'm going to get the water ready. And since I'm doing a double batch, it's going to be 8 cups of water. We're going to do 4 cups of just plain water, and then 4 cups we're going to make into the vegetable broth using the Better Than Bullion base. Alright, so this pan is heated up, so we're going to add our vegetables. Now I separated them a little bit. I took out the carrots and then a lot of the celery. I forgot to tell hubby to keep them separate. But we want to sweat the onions first, and the celery will let some water out, so that will help. I don't use oil when cooking because oil is an inflammatory, and I personally try to stay away from oil. So we're just going to use water to saute these vegetables. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of water to keep them from sticking, and then I'm going to put a lid over them so they kind of steam a little bit as they're cooking, and it helps the celery and onions release their own juices. Alright, put the lid on. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit to about medium-low, and I'm just going to let that cook for about 5 minutes like that, and then we'll come back. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. Stir our veggies here. And you see that water's still in there, which is fine because we need it in there. If you could smell it, you could smell that the onions and celery are releasing their juices and their aroma. So we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the veggies, the rest of the celery and the carrots. There we go. We're going to add our 4 cups of water, and we did use a little bit already, so this is the rest of the water here. And then we're going to add 4 cups of the broth. Vegetable broth. To this, we're also going to add a little bit of salt, not much because there's already quite a bit in the bouillon, but just a little bit. I would say about half a teaspoon. And then we're going to add some black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then what I like to add, because I really like the celery flavor coming through and just rounding out the dish, is I add a little bit of celery seed. Now this is completely optional, you don't have to do this, but I think it just rounds off the flavor a little bit. And I use about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of that. Now we're going to bring up our soup to a boil. I forgot to add our Italian seasoning. And I add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Again, this is a double batch. So you want to be generous with it because we're going to be adding gnocchi to this. And gnocchi is a potato pasta. And if you know anything about starches, they tend to absorb the flavor. So you kind of need to add a little extra to make sure that there's still flavor left in the soup. So again, we're just going to wait for this to come to a boil. We're going to cover it with a lid, and then we're going to turn it down to medium heat and let it gently simmer for about 1/2 hour until the carrots are tender, and then we'll continue with the rest of the recipe. Alright, so it's been about 30 minutes. So our carrots are nice and tender. We have lost a little bit of liquid because I had it boiling a little bit too hard. So we're actually going to replace that liquid because we need it for our pasta. So I have about 2 more cups of water here. So we're going to add that. And then now it is time to actually add, we have our whipping cream, which is going to be the cream for the soup. And we're also going to add our meat, our gnocchi, and also spinach. The the Olive Garden variety has spinach in it just to give it a little more body. So I'm going to go grab those real quick. So the soup is pretty much done. The gnocchi itself only takes about 3 minutes to cook. And some recipes will have you cook the gnocchi ahead of time and then add it to your soup. And I just think that's an additional step you don't need to do. This is plenty hot. It has enough liquid. You can just put the gnocchi in here, let it set for 3 to 5 minutes, and you're good to go. So we're also going to add our spinach, and this is just a regular bag of frozen spinach. You can use fresh spinach. You want to use about 2 to 4 cups of that and let it wilt in if you're doing this big of a batch. So we're going to add about 1/2 bag of the spinach. Going to stir that in there. Alright, we're going to add our chicken. And I'm not sure if I'm going to use all this. There's quite a bit of chicken in here, so I might use just half. There we go. That's enough chicken for this batch. So I put about 3 cups of chicken in here total for a double batch. And I'll save the rest for a rainy day. We'll just stir that in gently a little bit. You can see how dense this soup is. It's more of a chowder by the time we get done, especially since we're adding cream to it. That makes it a chowder. Otherwise it'd be classified as a stew. So we're going to add this whole thing of the heavy whipping cream. This is the big fat that we got going on in here. Because remember, we didn't use any oil. And we used chicken tenderloins or chicken breasts, which is a very lean item as well. So we're going to add that in there and just stir it. If you wanted to make this kind of thicker, you could certainly do that by adding some flour or cornstarch to your cream before adding it in, and it will thicken this up pretty good. But I find that the gnocchi does that pretty good on its own because the starch, the potatoes, it kind of helps thicken this up a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and use a full package. So this is what the box looks like. I get it at my local Myers, and I think Walmart carries this too. And so it's cute little dumplings. We're just going to add those in there. My husband was worried I was going to overfill my pot. Nah, I knew I had enough room. So we're going to stir that. And you want to make sure you stir the gnocchi in so it doesn't stick, because it is pasta, and pasta tends to stick together. Alright, so with adding the cream and the cold spinach and stuff, we did drop the temperature down a bit. So we're going to bring this back up to a boil, and then turn it back down to a simmer, and simmer it for just about 2 to 3 minutes, not very long, and then turn the temperature off and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and it will be good to go. So I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so it's been about 4.5 minutes that I let this cook on a slow simmer like this. I just turned the heat off. But you can see the gnocchi is right at the top like it's supposed to be for cooked pasta, and it's nice and fat and plump. And the spinach is sitting on top and makes it look really pretty with the spinach and the carrots there. So you could go ahead and eat this right now if you wanted to, but I like to let it sit for about 10 minutes or so. Number one, to cool down, because this is really, really hot. But number two, it kind of just lets the stuff that was added last soak up the other seasonings that were in this pot, especially the pasta. You don't want pasta that just tastes like pasta. So we're just going to let that sit for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll enjoy it. Alright, so that is how I make the Olive Garden knockoff of chicken and gnocchi soup. Today I did not make it vegetarian because my son specifically wanted real chicken, but it can be made vegetarian, and if you search for vegan meat substitutes or even use seitan, you can definitely make this a vegan soup. So it's good either way. I enjoy this soup, and it's one of the soups I'm going to be using on my weight loss journey here in 2026. So since I'm using it as part of my diet, let's go ahead and see what our calories and stuff are for this recipe. So I plugged this all in based on a regular batch of soup, not a double batch. So one serving is a 2-cup serving, because I generally eat a 2-cup serving. So we based it off that. Is 461 calories. So not bad for everything that's in it, especially the additional cream and stuff. It's still under my calorie goal for the day, so we're good. But yes, 461 calories. It has 41 grams of carbs, and a lot of that is because of the gnocchi that is in it, so a lot of carbs. It has a bit of fat in it, 20 grams. It has 27 grams of protein, 3.5 grams of fiber. It has 976 milligrams of sodium, again with the Bullion in there that has a bit of salt, and then we also added some additional salt on top of that. It's pretty good with potassium. It has 851 milligrams of potassium, so it's pretty good if you're trying to get some potassium in. Good soup to do that with. And then because we actually used real meat, it does have cholesterol in it, so if you're watching your cholesterol, it has 134 milligrams of cholesterol. So that is the health numbers so you can make good choices when deciding what you want to eat for your meals.
So I hope you enjoyed watching this video today on how I make a simple hearty soup that is good for any time of year actually. And if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. Love to have you along on this journey. And until next time, I hope wherever you are, you're wonderfully blessed. Bye-bye.